television contract for a lot of money would be a lot cooler.
Really cool. Yeah. I want to follow up on my Bedlam question. Do you sense that OSU fans want to keep playing that game, or do you sense?
I think so.
They do.
I do. Yeah,
Okay.
I think that it's not really feasible. When you look at we're scheduled out through 32, 33, something like that, and so most conferences, once all this settles down, you're going to have a minimum of 9 conference games, in my opinion. Again, that's just my opinion. I've been wrong a lot in my life. But you're going to have a minimum of 9 conference games, and most schools, such as the 2 you're mentioning, are scheduled out through them. So you're talking about contract buyouts, and you're talking about convincing head coaches to play another game, which would be like playing another conference game. So then you're talking about durability of players. What's the ramifications financially if you play well, if you lose that game? It could cost me a playoff spot. It could cost the conference a playoff spot. So there's a lot going on. I think most fans would love to do it. I just don't know that it's really feasible to happen, in my opinion.
Coach, do you think, in your opinion, that it will ever slow down, or it will kind of like peak or plateau out as far as this? Yes.
I don't think it's going to slow down over the next 2 or 3 years. You have one league. ACC is, I think they're good through 35 or 36 or something, right? So you would think they would slow down some. That's a long ways out. Big 12 and Pac-12, they're up in a couple years, right? And then I don't know how far the Big Ten goes. But for the most part, when you have conferences, particularly there's 2 of them now that could be up in a couple years, there's going to be a lot of negotiation. There's no such thing as a alliance of faith. That's out the window. So I would say there's negotiating that's probably going on as we speak. So we went through a lengthy transition, terminology-wise and X's and O's wise with Coach Knowles. And you watched it. It took about the 3rd year before we got adjusted. So once that happened, I knew that I did not want to change the language for the players. And then I was concerned because that takes the pool of candidates down quite a bit. Because most guys, let's just call it, in this profession, guys have too big an ego. They don't want to come in and do what you do. They want to come in and do everything. That's the way it is. So I was able to come across a few guys, and then Derek had said, I'll speak the language. Derek's been a head coach and coordinator. He doesn't have an ego. He's good with it. So he came in, he's put his twist on it, some things he wants to do, taught the coaches, taught the players, and the language has stayed the same. So basically from the start, I knew that I didn't want to change the terminology.
Mike, you mentioned how cool it is. What's your reaction?
Good. We've had a couple conversations. Talked a little bit of business, some just getting to know each other. I did all the research on him. I know a lot about him. I know where he came from. I know what his path has been to get here. I think that is an absolute perfect fit for what college football is today. You got to be able to sell. You got to be able to show. I think that's what he does. He's been fantastic at it.
Were you surprised that?
I know they've got some good family. I think it's on his wife. They got some good Italian. So his family is from Jersey, Indiana, back to the Jersey, New York area. When you think about the rock nation, you think about NASCAR, you think about pro basketball. So that's a lot of negotiating and a lot of advertisement and sponsorship, and that's what college football has come down to.
Were you surprised that the conference went outside the box? And
I think the presidents realized that this is a different game now, and so as I mentioned earlier, all of us know that it's all about securing long-term television money. And a football coach that would move into what would be an administrative role as a commissioner or something, those days are gone. I don't know anything about raising long-term money. I don't know anything about sponsorship. I don't know anything about legalities and signing deals. Those guys do. That's the future of college football.
Sorry, go ahead. Do you think that as college football gets bigger and healthier, restarting conversations like we are, like college football, we've been talking about that forever. So the question is, who do you think should run college football?
Well, right now, it's CFP, right? I mean, when you say run college football, you're talking about one person.
Oh, you've got officiating rules. And
Oh, yeah.
you've got the CFP, all the money doesn't go to the NCAA.
Right. I see what direction you're going. My personal opinion on that is there's going to be a group. I said this for 2 years. There's going to be a group of, I'm just going to say, 40 teams. I think they're going to come together. They'll have it distributed in conferences. Maybe it's 3. I don't know. And then they're going to have to come together with a committee, and they're going to have to restructure the way this happens. Because who's in charge of NIL right now? Who's in charge of NCAA's there, but how much are they doing enforcing rules? It's a big picture now, and it's got to get back in line. You know, if the speed limit's 55, if you drive 67, you're going to get a ticket. If you drive 63, you're okay. But you can't drive 100, and because if you know nobody's policing you, you can just drive as fast as you want. That's what's going on right now. So at some point, I think there'll be a complete restructure in all of it. And when they make that committee, hopefully it won't be more than 3 people. When you form committees with 11 people on it, 17 people, just get in a room with 3 or 4 people. It's hard to make a decision, much less a lot of people in one room. So I think there's going to be a committee that's going to govern all that. They'll gather it back in because the money's only going to continue to go up. I mean, it's just the way it is. It's not going to stop.
Mike, do you want OU and Texas to stay in the Big 12 for the remainder of their contract?
Oh, I don't know enough about if they leave early and they dump $80 million our way. I think that's awesome. You know, I just don't know. I can give you an opinion on certain things like I did with Heather, but some things are out of my league, and I almost hate to talk about it because I don't know. President of Oklahoma, Stiglione, Del Conte, and those guys, they've got their own thoughts on what they can and can't do. I mean, that's another big picture, right? I mean, do they leave early? If they leave early, is there somebody going to financially support it back that's not in the conference? Is it going to be a television network? I don't know.
Mike, you mentioned, you were talking about Bedlam earlier. Do you want Bedlam to continue after Oklahoma leaves?
Well, if we're going to play nine conference games, we're scheduled out through 32 or 33. Every year we have a Power 5 opponent at this particular time. That would be adding another Power 5 game. That would be 11 games at that level. Can the players withstand it? I don't know. I mean, the duration of the season. You know, if they went to 95 scholarships, make it easier, but I don't see that happening right now. I just don't think that it's feasible based on all the moving parts that have to happen for that to take place. If they went to that, which Jenny, I don't think they will because you're interrupting academic schedules. For example, at the end of the year, some schools are dead finals week, some schools aren't. So then you're interrupting the bowl schedules, you're interrupting the holidays, academic schedules, a lot of issues. If they ever decide to go from 4 to like 12, and I think what you said is exactly what's going to happen. In order to align yourself in a position to say that we're worthy of being in it, you're going to have to play maybe only 1 game a year that wouldn't be at that high level. Because other schools are going to play it, and even if they lose one, they're going to say, well, they played 12 games and we didn't. And I think that would work against you more than it will.
One thing too, when A&M left for the SEC, it created basically a 10-year cold war in Texas. You know, the 2 schools, there was a lot of hate and all that. Do you sense that with OU? Do you think they sense that, or is it just that this is what it is now, business-wise, and it is what it is, and everybody just goes along?
Well, it's interesting. We go to conference meetings, and OU and Texas are in there. They're still in the conference, but I'm guessing they leave, they're scratching out things that they'll get in the SEC next year. So it is an unusual situation. I think there's a business side of it that nowadays people say it is what it is, which 10 years ago they might not even let it be meetings.
Right.
But I think the world's changing and people are going to make business. So, you know, the new commissioner, if I was him, I wouldn't let OU and Texas in any games.
Right, yeah, for real.
I mean, Stiglione's a friend of mine, Del Conte is a friend of mine. They may be taking notes and running over here and telling them.
Absolutely.
I don't know what they're doing. You know?
But more importantly, they know what the Big 12 is thinking.
I say that joking, but I mean, so if you're strategically in a business meeting and you're in the same, if it's two cell phone companies, I don't want somebody from their company, my company. If I have new software and technology, I don't want them to go build it. I want to build it. So, I say that kind of jokingly, but really it's almost business as usual. Everybody gets along and they don't worry about it.
Long term, do you think this thing's in a good place for playoff access, given all the uncertainty going around here with the playoff going forward?
Do I think who's in a good place?
The Big 12 is in a good place for playoff access.
We were very fortunate that the 4 teams that we gathered to come to this league are all going to bring a lot to the league. Okay? And I think the guy that we hired is going to be fantastic for the league. We all know that what he has to do is a difficult job. Sure it is. But we're in great shape now. We gathered a couple time zones for the East Coast. Okay? We gathered one in that Mountain time zone. And all the schools that jumped in have been tremendously successful recently. And people don't really concern themselves with what happened 5 years ago. They want to know what we need to do. And that's the direction to take.
On that note, does geography just not matter anymore?
Not when we took Los Angeles television market schools and they could potentially play in New Jersey. That's all. That's what, a 5-hour flight. So we got to leave on Thursday, I would guess. Probably not a lot of fans going to make that trip. And I'm just guessing, maybe I'm wrong. So geography is not in the window now. It's all about grabbing some sort of viewership in television market. And you can fit your games in those time slots and that the 3 or 4 out of the networks will buy into it and they'll pay you to play on TV. You got to keep going. And I mentioned it up there. There'll be some battles to try to say that, let's just say in 2 years, 3 years, some of this settles down. There'll be schools wanting to say we have the best stuff. Our facilities are better than anybody in this league, so on and so forth. I think it'll be very important.
Thank you. It's okay. When Brett Earmark sits up there and says, I want to make it, the Big 12 a more national brand, more contemporary, when you hear things like that, what kind of direction do you think, or what do you think maybe kind of needs to be done to elevate, not just like you say, OSU Cowboys brand, but kind of just give the Big 12 their Cowboys?
I think that's, I don't want to step out of my box because I don't stand to be a business guy. I think that's the world he lives in, and he knows that this is driven money. And essentially that he's willing to go coast to coast to financially support this conference and sell whatever it is that we need to sell so our schools can get good payouts so Chad Weinberg can do his job. And that's really what it comes down to. It's not a complicated concept, it's just difficult to get there. So when I listened to, I didn't hear him, I read it afterwards because I wanted to know what he had to say. And that's why I think he's a perfect fit for what we're trying to get accomplished, because that's what he does. And the time I spent with him on the phone over the last few days, very humble, but very impressive, very innovative, highly intelligent. And one thing that I like about him is very similar to the president of Oklahoma State. They're not scared. They're not scared to have big chance. They're a little bit aggressive. I think that's the way it has to be in college football.
Last question. On the schedule model, are there certain schools that make sense for Oklahoma State? Would you like to have at least one game against Texas just to be in the Texas markets?
We need to be in the Texas market zone, and I don't think there's any question we will be. Once that starts to come out, you're seeing other leagues now that are getting. I think they're going to start to get away from divisions. The model of what we had, where we all play each other, so we know actually at the end of the year who had the best win loss record, has worked for us. And I think that they're moving in that direction. And what that allows us to do then is to sit down with the conference and the new commissioner and everybody else involved and say, I'm going to guess he's going to say, okay, here's the schools that are in. What do you want? What do you want? What do you want? Okay, how do we put all that together? We're going to want to play in Texas. There's 4 million people in the state of Oklahoma. There's probably 4 million people in the Dallas metro and surrounding areas. So we need to be down here from a population standpoint. It helps us with students and with super. So, all right, guys, thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Yes.